Hello everyone, juxtaposition here. This will be the Heche fiery car crash hoax psychops part 13. Now, if you follow my previous videos, including the Sharon Tate and Abigail Folger and Lena LaBianca, which I thought that was set my record. I think I have 18 videos on that, and it's worthy of setting a record because we have 7 murdered people by NATO soldiers. So you think that's worth 18 videos for sure, right? So this has zero dead people. We have a missing Heche. You know, she's missing. There's no confirmation that she's dead. There's no confirmation that she was present during this fiery car crash episode in an Army intelligence zip code neighborhood called Greater Culver City, also sometimes referred to as Venice, sometimes referred to as Mar Vista, oftentimes referred to as Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles. But in any case, you know, before we had the Heche case, we had the Church of Synanon, we had the New Road School, where Dakota Johnson finished her high school, we had the O.J. Simpson slow-speed car chase on the San Diego freeway in close proximity to Walgrow Avenue, which parallels the San Diego freeway. Anyway, then we also had an armory where we had military weapons stored. We had the CIA drug-dealing Straight Satan's Motorcycle Club located at 1 Clubhouse Avenue, which is one parking lot south from Muscle Beach, where we had a steroid beauty pageant winner, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who went on to become a gubernator and a Hollywood actor, with Sharon Tate's younger sister Deborah topless on his shoulders in a swimming pool somewhere. All emanating from this neighborhood near Venice High School, which is literally 4/10 of a mile south on the way toward Marina del Rey, site of the mysterious death of Dennis Wilson, the drummer for the Beach Boys. Another clandestine service infiltrated band. Whew, boy. I won't even get into the Doris Day connections, and I don't want to discuss Doris Tate, because she's up to her eyeballs with spookism with a terrorist husband by the name of Paul James Tate. All right, so normally once I realize it's a hoax, I start losing interest real quick. My interest level falls off a cliff. So I'm going to play along. And if you want to believe that Heche was in the car and maybe she got burned and maybe they put her in the ambulance and then they took her to the hospital. Okay, so I would just think, well, what hospital would you logically take a severe burn victim who's going to die, but we want to harvest her organs even though she's an alcoholic vodka person, which that's a 25-year-old, story that ABC Disney created that narrative in August 2000. They created the wackadoodle Heche has a spacecraft and she's going to take us all to heaven in her spaceship. And there's alcohol involved and she's on ecstasy and they got to take her to a medical facility in Fresno, except that it looks kind of like they didn't get her over to that facility until around 7 o'clock at night, and she was checked out early Sunday morning, which is code for 12:30 a.m., which means perhaps she was there for 5 to 6 hours, where she saw doctors for maybe 2 hours. So that's a heck of a manic episode. Then she jumps on a plane, flies to Toronto to direct a film starring Denzel Washington, and there was no incidents, no further manic episodes, no disturbing problems from Ellen DeGeneres. So anyway, if you want to play along, the obvious medical center, world-class medical center, would be UCLA Medical Center. It's 5.5 miles as the crow flies from 1766 Walgrow Avenue. So that would be the obvious place to take her. I mean, my lord, it's very highly rated hospital. It's rated second best hospital in the West Coast, behind Cedar Sinai Hospital, which is number 1. But UCLA is number 2. And it's rated number 5 of all the hospitals in the entire United States is UCLA. It has a nursing school. It has a teaching school. It has a children's hospital. It has 520 licensed beds. It has a trauma center. It has world-class funding, world-class facilities. It's Medicare premium approved and constructed. And like I said, it's 6 minutes away. Why wouldn't you go there? I mean, that's where they took Michael Jackson. That's where they've taken lots of big stars. They either take them to Cedars-Sinai or UCLA Medical Center. Like I said, it's 5.5 miles from this burn house situation. So no, that's not what they do. They take her up to West Hills Hospital, which I've provided the links below so you can go check it out. And that actually has 260 licensed beds, which is higher than I thought. Now you realize your typical hospital is licensed for at least double what they normally have, but I'm having a hard time believing that West Hills Hospital has 130 patients in it, average daily census. So for you people in the business, you kind of live and die by your census. In other words, the number of people that stay overnight in your hospital. I understand that we're on a DRG type program and we're under COVID protocols. So that typically is you want to get coded for whatever pays the most and then get the patients discharged out the door ASAP. That's the world we live in now. So probably my guess, professionally speaking, would be that this hospital that Ann Heche was taken to, which is adjacent to the Peter H. Grossman Burn Center, which is really a cosmetic surgery for Botox operation that his father, Richard Grossman, founded in 1969. You know, when Charlie Manson lived literally about a mile away in Canoga Park, near Highway 27, which is the freeway that goes from the Malibu Colony through Tobacco Canyon, Topanga Canyon. Topanga Canyon, from where Sharon Tate was filmed in Don't Make Waves with Tony Curtis, and you just go north on Highway 27 through Topanga Canyon, up and over a hill, a steep hill. Then you dive down to the Ventura Highway 101, cross over that, go up a couple miles, get off the freeway, and head west to West Hills. It's less than a mile, and you'll be where they took Ann Heche. Now, they should have helicoptered because that's about 26 miles as the crow flies, and you could use the San Diego Freeway and go north to Highway 101, which is Ventura, go west, then exit on 27 north, as if you're going to the Spawn Ranch, as if you're going to go visit Charlie Manson at Canoga Park, and whatever exit you'd use to go to see Charlie Manson, who was living at 21019 Gresham Street, you can Google it. The home's been torn down, it's been rebuilt. Anyway, that's where Charlie Manson lived, right off the freeway, like 2 blocks off of Highway 27. And if you go the west, Charlie was on the east side of 27. If you go to the west, you'll be at the Grossman Burn Center, aka Botox, because that's really what they do over there, Botox. And it's next to an acute care hospital where, in theory, that's where Ann Heche would be admitted, which is very far away from the crash scene. And of course, it's going to take an hour to get her there. Unless you're going 100 miles an hour in that truck. I don't think they did that. So it's a hike because there's a number of, there's traffic, there's backing up. You can blow the horn, you can ring your siren, but you have a woman that's going to die from 3rd-degree burns, I thought, right? That's what the media told me. That's what David Manpearl said, that there was this terrible fire and he had to flee the scene and let Ann Heche get barbecued. That's what he said. That's not what I said. That's what he said. And he's a senior vice president for a company that serves Disney and ABC News. So why would I argue with David Manpearl? Anyway, so the thing is, this is what they did. They took him there. So I don't know how many patients were in that West Hills hospital, but they blew off UCLA, which we know can handle the job. They get 99% of all the burn victims in Los Angeles County have to go to either Cedars-Sinai's or to UCLA, because that's in the heart of Los Angeles. And it's 5.5 miles from this particular burn accident, right? What I call a felony arson. Anyway, so you should know that the director of this so-called burn center that's adjacent to the West Hills Acute Care Hospital which is essentially in Canoga Park, but we call it West Hills. It's near Calabasas. It's near Westlake Village. It's near Chatworth. It's where Frank Sinatra rented a home. It's 4 miles from the Spawn Ranch and Iverson Ranch, where the Manson families were videotaped to create the illusion that they spent time in a cult family on a television lot, 55 acres, when the reality is that they spent most of their time in Van Nuys and Sherman Oaks, near the CBS television studio, near Toluca Lake. You know, they lived at 13158 Chandler Boulevard in 3 houses with 2 swimming pools with Angela Landberry's 16-year-old daughter, Deidre. She lived in one of those 3 houses. Go Google it. 13158 Chandler Boulevard. I double dare you. It's 1 block from Coldwater Canyon and Chandler Boulevard. Maybe it's 1.5 blocks. You could walk to the CBS television studios from that location. You don't need a car. You could do it. So, what's the story with this Peter H. Grossman? Well, his father, Richard, founded the Cosmetic Surgery Center in 1969. You know, that was when Charlie Manson was moved from the CBS Will Rogers estate, 5.88 acres, 13 room, 5 bedrooms, daily deliveries from the Altadena dairy of eggs and chocolate milk, 14400 Sunset Boulevard, Pacific Palisades. Google it. 14400 Sunset Boulevard. Charlie Manson lived there 8 to 9 months when he wasn't staying with Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson, who wasn't touring. The Beach Boys went on 142 tours, concert tours in 1968. And Charlie Manson lived in this home that the media says belonged to Dennis Wilson, the drummer, who went on all those 142 concerts, which is poppycock. He was 23 years old. He was in the process of divorcing his first wife. And he's chasing girls with Doris Day's son, Terry Melcher, and Greg Jacobson, who are the producers of the Charlie Manson show, which really won't start until February 1969. And that was when Charlie Manson was moved from Pacific Palisades, when there was no Manson family, and he was moved to the Spawn Ranch for filming by Terry Melcher and Greg Jacobson and Danny DiCarlo of the Straight Satan's drug dealing operation in Venice, which is near the Richard Glass hair design where Anne Heche bought her red wig. It's walking distance from that. Anyway, and that's where they created the illusion, the magic illusion that there was a Manson family, because Charlie lived in Canoga Park near the Richard Grossman Cosmetic Center, which his father Richard started. Because Peter was a young man then. He's only, today he's 59 years old. So he would have only been like 5 or 6 years old when Charlie Manson lived near his father's office. You see? Right? You see? So Peter Grossman was alive when Charlie Manson lived a mile away from his father's office. However, Peter Grossman was probably 4 or 5 years old at that time when Charlie Manson was 34, going to be 35 years old. Let's call Charlie Manson 35 years old when he lived in close proximity to this West Hills area, where Frank Sinatra also rented a home. I'm not sure which years he did. I think it was sort of before 1966, 67, Frank Sinatra was in that neighborhood. You know, Frank Sinatra had multiple residences, just like all of the Hollywood people have these homes in Palm Springs and Beverly Hills. And here Frank Sinatra also has a home on top of a hill above the Grossman Burn Center. That's what it's been sort of portrayed as in this Anne Heche story. But I gotta believe that most of their business is not burns. It's Botox, right? I mean, how many people get burned up in car crashes every day? It's very unusual. It's rare. And most of them will be taken to UCLA and Cedars, unless it's an operation and they don't want lots of witnesses. So you take them to the smaller facility near Ventura County on the edge of town, you know, where you're far away from the Los Angeles Police Department, because this area is not covered by LA Police. This is the sheriff. This is LA Sheriff County. Well, anyway, you should know that this Peter Grossman, who's a cosmetic surgeon, physician, he's about 59 years old. He's married to Rebecca. His wife Rebecca is the same age. She's 59. Now she's got a little problem, which means that Peter's got a problem. And the problem happened 2 years ago on September 29th, 2020, sort of in the height of the coronavirus outbreak. Rebecca, who was the founder of what's called the Westlake magazine. So I'm kind of assuming that Peter and Rebecca Grossman live in Westlake Village. It's an upscale place next door to Calabasas, which is north of the Malibu Hills, Malibu Canyon area. It's also next to Thousand Oaks. So that's where Heather Locklear lives. She lived in, I think, Calabasas. Then she moved to Thousand Oaks, which is it's Westlake Village. I've been there. Westlake Village is sort of kind of an enclave. And there's also Agora Hills, Calabasas, Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks. And then as you make your way east on the Ventura Highway, you'll come to what they now call West Hills, which I always thought that was Canoga Park, or Chatworth. Home to the Spawn Ranch, Iverson Ranch, home to Charlie Manson, home to porn. Canoga Park is the headquarters for porn. I think it's sort of moved over to Van Nuys, which is next door. There's Northridge, Cal State Northridge now, which is, they have a town of Northridge, which is next to Van Nuys, which is next to Sherman Oaks. It's where Frank Zappa had a home. It's a corridor of porn and clandestine services and mysterious situations. All the way from the Malibu colony, past Pepperdine, past the Hughes Research Laboratory, to the TRW facility, to the Burbank Hollywood Airport, which now is Amazon. Amazon's sort of taken over from Lockheed. Lockheed moved up to Palmdale and Lancaster Way. Well, so what happened is that on September 29th, 2020, Rebecca, in her Mercedes, was speeding. Don't know what her speed was. And she ran over two little boys, one age 11 and one age 8. She mowed them down. And one of them died immediately. The second one was taken to the hospital, and where he died. And the problem is Rebecca didn't slow down. She didn't wait. She fled the scene. So it's a hit and run, and it's a double vehicular manslaughter. It's almost a borderline, murder, homicide. But anyway, she disappears for 2 days, and they have to round her up, and the judge is not happy. So he sets Rebecca Grossman, even though she's a socialite, and she's the publisher of the Westlake magazine. So I'm assuming she lives nearby, and her husband, Peter H. Grossman, he's the legacy of the Richard Grossman, cosmetic surgery center / burn unit. But that doesn't carry much weight. So he sets her bail at $2 million. $1 million per child killed. $2 million. So that's a minimum of $200,000 bail bond premium. Unless you know somebody, if you have a friendly bail bondsman, they'll maybe knock 10% off. So maybe it's $182,000 you come up with to get your wife out of jail. Okay? Because she's going to the Los Angeles County Jail if she doesn't, I'm trying to think where that accident happened. Westlake Village, I think that's Ventura. So she's going to the Ventura County Jail. It's near the Kobe Bryant mysterious helicopter crash, which I never did get a final determination on that. It's another mysterious helicopter crash, just like the Francis Gary Powers helicopter crash along Highway 101, aka Ventura Highway. You got the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash. You got the Gary Francis Powers, CIA. Gary Francis Power, career CIA, and his helicopter got blown up. Just like Bill Graham, career CIA, his helicopter got blown up similarly. That's 3 helicopter crashes. 2 in Bell 206B helicopters. Bill Graham and Francis Gary Powers is one of the best pilots in the world. They both were killed in Bell 206B helicopters. What's the chance of that happening? about 14 years apart. One was killed in 1977, and one was killed in 1991. So that's 14 years difference in helicopter crashes. So here's a supposition. You know, I mean, I realize that the invisible hand controls everybody. They control. Looks like they control David Manpearl. They look like they control his wife Dana. It looks like they control Peter Grossman. I know they control Charlie Manson. I'll bet they control David Hoberman and Todd Lieberman of Manderville Films, because I know they control Disney and ABC. I know they controlled the narrative for Anne Heche. In August 2000, they said that she had appeared, that there was no verification, there was no source cited for this, but nevertheless, ABC News, in 3 paragraphs, introduced the concept of drugs, ecstasy, and a breakup bender, which is code for alcohol drunkenness, for Anne Heche in Fresno County, 9 miles north of the Harris Ranch, where we turn cows into hamburger. Harris Ranch feedlot, 9 miles north. Anne Heche on ecstasy with a spaceship, just going to take us all to heaven. That all came out of Disney-owned ABC News in August 2000. And here we are in August 2022 with David Manpearl, and he's the senior vice president for Manderville Films, which is owned essentially by Disney ABC. It's the same people that brought you the Anne Heche narrative 22 years ago. And here we go again. It's the same narrative. She's drunk. She's crazy. We're going to donate her organ. She's driving 90 miles an hour, according to David Manpearl. She's going 90. Didn't look like she's going to 90 to me. But I mean, I don't even think she's there. I think she's got a red wig and she's gone fishing. But maybe a stuntman or a remote control drove a car 50. But in any case, you're going to have to slam on the brakes, because there's no way you're going to cross Walgrow Avenue going faster than 20 miles an hour maximum. Otherwise, that car's 4 wheels are coming off the road, and the car is going to end up like a billiard ball in perhaps some other house other than the target. So you slow down, you have a spotter, you make sure it's safe to cross, that coast is clear, drive nice and easy at 5 to 10 miles an hour, drive up to the front door, turn right, park, then get out of the car, get lost, or go into one of the staging homes, have a adult beverage, and the pyrotechnic crew is going to take over from there. That's what you had. Or you can believe the David Manpearl story, which is preposterous, but, you know, whatever. He's in the business. He's in Hollywood, so, you know, you'd think he'd be a better storyteller than he is, because I don't believe anything he says at all. You know, and I don't believe anything Kaelin says. And since those two seem to be pals. Anyway, so instead of going to UCLA, they take, supposedly, the body bag, or whatever the burn bag was, they take it to, up to Canoga Park, to the Peter H. Grossman Burn Center, if you believe that. And, you know, 23 months ago, his wife drove over and killed an 11 and 8-year-old little boys named Mark and Jacob. And Mark Iskander, age 11, he died on the spot. The 8-year-old Jacob Iskander died at a hospital. Don't know which hospital they took him. So that's 2 dead little boys who were walking with their family, with their parents. There were 6 in the family total, and but they had been separated. So the 2 little boys went ahead and they got clobbered by Rebecca Grossman, who's in a world of trouble with criminal charges, criminal felony, vehicular manslaughter, folks. So she's looking at prison time, right? $2 million bail bond. So that means you have to hire a criminal lawyer or lawyers. So that's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to cost probably minimum $600,000 minimum. So, okay, so maybe Peter Grossman's got 600 grand. They had to come up with $182,000 minimum for bail. So now you're approaching $1 million in lawyer fees, retainers, and bail. Plus, that Rebecca's going to have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous or some kind of a private. And that's part of the tactics, is that she's going to get therapy because she's a drunkard, right? Because she disappeared for 2 days. So the presumption is that she's drunk. It was a DUI. And if they find her guilty of a DUI, then you could just multiply everything by 10. So she's getting therapy, and that's cost money too. So she's getting therapy, she's paying her lawyer retainer, and she has to pay that bail bondsman up front because they don't take credit cards for $200,000. Okay, so Peter Grossman is under major financial stress. Then once that criminal case has been resolved and Rebecca Grossman pleads guilty in a plea agreement, because not going to trial. If it goes to trial, she'll get 20 years in prison, which she'll have to serve half. So she'll be in prison when Leslie Van Houten gets out someday, if that ever happens, which I doubt. But the point is that it's prison time. It's prison time. It's state prison time, because it's going to be more than 2 years. So she's going to sign a plea agreement. And once she does, which means she agrees that she's guilty of a felony, then they're going to have a civil lawsuit, which is going to cost $25 million minimum. Okay? So I don't know who's going to pay that. I think Peter Grossman's going to pay that. So that's going to be the end of the Grossman Burn Cosmetic Surgery Center, is Rebecca has torpedoed that. Unless we have an Anne Heche hoax, you see? And then I don't have to take Anne Heche's actress body double, like the Tom Hanks body double. Tom Hanks hasn't done an interview in over 2 years. And he come out with a movie and he's not promoting it because I don't think that the body double can speak intelligently about Elvis or Colonel Parker. So you have a body double that looks kind of sort of like Tom Hanks, but he doesn't talk. Maybe points and stuff like that. So you got an Anne Heche body double, right? And normally you would take her to UCLA Medical Center since it's only 6 minutes away. But they don't. They go instead 26 miles north to West Hills, a.k.a. Canoga Park, where they see their friendly Peter H. Grossman, who's very grateful for some help with his legal problems, his $1 million worth of bail premiums and lawyers. And our Invisible Hand friends can do a GoFundMe for Peter Grossman and Rebecca. You see? Peter's going to do whatever he's told. No problem. I mean, he'll be happy to come up with a billing invoice for you. He could come up with a, medical chart as to what treatments he gave the Anne Heche who died. He could verify whether the organs were donated. I'm not really too sure about that liver. I mean, since Disney, ABC set the false narrative bias that Anne Heche had a breakup bender and was on ecstasy, I'm not really clear that you'd want that liver. That's 22 years ago. And now they're saying she's doing vodka videos and driving her car 90 miles an hour down Preston Way past David Manpearl's house and leaping through a hedgerow without breaking one branch and jumping up 3 feet like Houdini on a carpet, like on a magic carpet, going through into the house where you have a thermonuclear explosion of 5 bedrooms. There's only 5 rooms in the house. Destroying the house, but not harming the turtle. Because I got a pet turtle and I got 2 doggies and I have this strange woman, Lynne Mishell, allegedly from Georgetown, District of Columbia, who's got 3 pets living in a tear-down dump of a house. And she's in the backyard not being harmed. It's just extraordinary, the mathematical probabilities that something like this could even remotely happen in real life. But you see, if it's a Hollywood staged, clandestine service, military supervised pyrotechnic display with sound effects, absolutely this is feasible, plausible, reasonable. They do it all the time. Remember, O.J. Simpson was in a Navy SEALs movie, which they never released, where he was taught how to slit the carotid arteries of people as a black ops, wet ops Navy SEAL. And then what do you know? His ex-wife turns up with her carotid artery severed in an Operation Gladio, 150 feet away from the son of the CI director, William Colby's son. Carl Colby lives 150 feet away from where Nicole Brown was found dead with her neck severed to her spine. And what's the probability that the son of the former CIA director who had to clean up Richard Helms' Watergate mess, which was a CIA assassination of Richard Kennedy, that's what that was. No one wants to burglarize the Democratic National Committee. Who cares? And when I say burglarize, it means install listening devices. Well, I'm pretty sure they already had listening devices in that room, but they went back, I think they went back 3 times to switch out the listening devices because they didn't get caught by the security guard. So finally, on the 3rd time, they somebody called the District of Columbia Municipal Police and said, "Hey, I think there's a burglary going on. Go check it out," because the security guard with the toothless German Shepherd, he's not awake at the wheel. So anyway, that's my supposition, is that we have Anne Heche going way to the north end of the Los Angeles County, far, far away from the Los Angeles Police Department, which I'm sure they're compromised, but I guess they didn't want to get the police involved with this. So they got Anne Heche's body double out and away from the burning car, and they, which looks like she came out of 1802 Walgrow. Didn't look like she came out of the burning car. It didn't look like she came out of the burning house. It looked like she came out with the newly remodeled 802 Walgrow, or she came from the house behind 1800, the garage with the in-law unit. She could have come from there. That's where the stretcher gurney was wheeled on the 1802 property. She didn't come off 1766. Check it out. Go back and look at those videos. No way. The Anne Heche character that they put in the ambulance that sat up, she came from the next door neighbor's house. 1802. Check it out. So anyway, I understand that they don't want nurses asking questions or gossiping about what was really going on in that exam room. So you go up to Peter Grossman. He's totally compromised. He has $900,000 with the legal bills and bail bondsman premium. I'm pretty sure he does not have that in his checking account. I'm pretty sure he does not. So he's in a pickle. He's in a pickle. And our friends in the Hollywood Alliance are right there to help people go and help people get along by going along, with the GoFundMe page, or, those false narratives that we see in the news. So I thought you should know about this Rebecca Grossman. Check it out. She's 59 years old. She's in a major pickle. She's looking at jail time. They're going to work out some kind of a plea agreement for her. And now, given the Anne Heche situation and how cooperative her husband Peter will be, that they can maybe minimize their legal and financial exposure to the unlawful deaths of Mark and Jacob Iskander, Mark Iskander and his brother Jacob, who were mowed down in a Mercedes-Benz in Westlake Village on September 29th, 2020. And to make that go away, I think that Peter H. Grossman is going to have to do what he's told. That's my experience. We saw this portrayed in The Godfather too. I don't know if you remember that. The senator of Nevada that wasn't cooperating with Michael Corleone. He was going to squeeze him. He said, "I'm going to squeeze you, you people." Yeah, so they put him with a prostitute that they murdered in a bondage sex situation. They doped the senator so he doesn't remember, kind of just sort of like Jeffrey McDonald didn't really remember the details of how his wife got stabbed to death and his 2 daughters. So they have mind control type drugs that they can dope people up with. And then they say, "Oh, it looks like you killed the prostitute. But we've done this game before and no one got hurt and she liked it." This is the Anne Heche situation. But it can be done with a body double. It can be done with a false narrative. You don't actually have to kill somebody to extort or control or discredit them, right? We learned that with Watergate. We learned that with John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. They actually had their heads blown off. But in the case of Richard Nixon, he didn't have his head blown off. We had Watergate scandal, which was attributed to him, even though he had nothing to do with breaking into the Democratic National Committee. He had nothing to do with covering it up either. That's all Bob Woodward, Navy intelligence, fake hoax, you know, yellow journalism is what we used to call it when William Randolph Hearst used to practice yellow journalism before Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward did. You know, they're not, and also Lawrence Schiller, Schiller, the killing of Sharon Tate. How would he know? All right, take care. Thanks for listening. Hit the like and subscribe. Bye-bye.